in support of the Saturday event, I prepared a lesson, and I would like to entitle the lesson, "Are we in the same boat?" Question mark at the end. Well, there is a common saying often used in politics, especially in politics, that goes like this: we are all in the same boat. We are all sitting in the same boat. Politicians used to use it when they want to stress the unity, the solidarity of the people to whom they address, and naturally the solidarity that includes also the speaker with the group that he's addressing to. So, to me, to use this old metaphor of the boat, it's the same as saying that you are tying your life to the life of all the others that are on the same boat, and you are building in this way a kind of community of, let's say, destiny with all the others that are on the same boat. Because a boat can suffer a shipwreck, and if that happens, the chances to live for all that are on the board of the boat are very tiny, and so all the people that are on the board of the ship, of the boat, are tying their destiny together in one single destiny. The bonds of solidarity then are raising up, saying that you are building a community of destiny with all the others. This saying, which is, as I said, quite common, it's in fact, in my opinion, less used in lately. Nowadays, it seems this traditional, very old saying is not so much in practice. It's not used so much. We could ask ourselves what would be the reasons for this lesser use of this saying. We should try answering by thinking a little bit about technology. Boats, in fact, are not so captivating anymore as they were maybe before. And speaking about boats, and well, could be not so more attractive anymore. Planes are nowadays definitely more attractive. That's a technology of our era, of our century. But strange enough, we are not accustomed to hear that we are sharing the same destiny when we are sitting on the same plane. Nobody tried to modernize the saying and refreshing it, saying we are all on the same plane. But there's something else happening. There's another saying that it's tied together with technology, with the airplane technology. And we often hear the question, is the pilot still on the plane, when we are saying about being on the same plane? So this second question is quite different from the first one, from the first saying. First of all, it's a question, and it's not an affirmation. And second one, it's an affirmation that it's in fact communicating to the listener that there is a cut, a divide between all the passenger aboard of a plane and the crew, especially the captain, which is something special, and maybe he's not on the plane anymore. Maybe he found his own way and left this community of destiny with the passenger, and well, maybe he took a parachute and he's not aboard anymore. We are left to ourselves. So there are two different sayings connected with two different technologies. But in fact, we could ask ourselves also if these two sayings are really completely different. I'm not so sure, in fact. On second thought, there are some similarities between the two, let's say, symbolical words that are constructed with these two sayings. About the boat, we affirm the unity, the captain with all the passengers and the crew. All the persons on the boat are one community. When we are speaking about the plane, what we are making, you are just questioning if that unity still holds. We are naturally not the captain when we are asking if the captain is still on board. We are the crowd, the passenger, or the crew. No? We are evidently skeptical about the captain. And we would like to verify if the captain is still with us. But if we affirm about the boat that we are all together, maybe there is some similarities with the plane situation, because if you have this necessity to affirm that we are all on the same boat, it means that maybe the feeling we have about being on the same boat, it's not so strong, and maybe there is a little bit of skepticism about it anyway. So we have to say it, to affirm it, to confirm it, to establish, in fact, that community, that it's not so strong to be self-evident and not in need to be affirmed. So the fact that we have to utter this affirmation, we are on the same boat, would seem to be the expression of a need to reassure someone that is not so sure about making this community of destiny, about being part of it. And second reflection about it, we are not, when we are really on a board of a ship, we are not saying, okay, we are all on the same ship and we are making a community of destiny. If there will be wreckage, we will all go down. We are saying it when, in fact, we are on a mainland and we are far away from a ship, and we try to establish the same feeling we have when we are on a ship. So there is a metaphorical sense in this saying about the ship. And this metaphorical dimension, it's also a way to establish something that it's not so self-evident, not strong enough to establish itself. And I will make an example that will in a way illustrate what I'm saying about just in an abstract way till this moment. For example, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel made paid a visit to different states in the past weeks in Europe, and in every country she visited, she reaffirmed, we will do everything that's in our power to save the euro. What was the feeling we had when we heard her saying that? I don't know for you, but in my, I can say it for myself, that I was highly unsecure, a feeling of insecurity pervaded in me when I heard saying that. Because I was much more, I felt much more confident in the politicians we have, the European politicians we have, when they had no need to say that. The euro, in my opinion, was stronger at the time when nobody was saying we will do everything, it's in our power to save it. In confront with the times, the nowadays times, they are confirming it, whereas they are saying it from day to day that they will do what is in their power, they will do what is needed to be done to save it, and the raising frequency of their saying that is just making them more and more unsure about their real power to obtain this goal. And that's, in a way, the same mechanism we are producing when we are saying we are on the same boat. But in fact, it's not my opinion that the going out of fashions of boats has something to do with this obsolescence of the saying we are on the same boat. I think that the real reason, because that are explaining the fact that we are not using it anymore so often as before, is another kind of development, and this development has to do with the obsolescence of the national state and the raising divide between the rich and let's say the medium class and the lower classes in a single country, and if you want, the globalization of the economy with the processes of financialization of the world economy, and the parallel process of the making a kind of plutocracy that it's establishing itself as the world leader behind the curtain of the democratic processes that are supposed to rule the countries and the world. I mean to say that this saying went out of fashion because, in fact, nobody is feeling like that anymore, and especially the more the advantaged 1% or fewer percent at the top of the societies are not feeling like being part of the community of destiny with the common people of the same country. The range of possibilities they have is quite different than the range of possibility of choices, of real perspectives, life perspectives that the normal people are having. They can, for example, invest in foreign markets. They can transfer their capitals in countries that are not taxing their money so much. That are possibilities that are not open to normal people, and in this way, I feel that the feelings being part of the same community, of the same community of destiny, is falling apart, and nobody, even the medium and the lower classes, are not feeling it as convincing anymore, and that's the real reason that it's not in use anymore. But if this is not true, if we are not a community of destiny, if you are not sharing the same possibilities, that poses us a big, enormous problem, and we cannot possibly make common decisions anymore. We are not running together anymore. The idea of a republic, which is at the base of this thinking that we are a community of destiny, is falling apart. If that's not true anymore, if there is 1 or 2 or something less than 10% of people that are having a range of possibility that is quite different from the range of possibilities that common people have, that means that we are not forming a republic, and if we are not forming a republic, we can neither be forming an effective democracy, and that's a huge problem of legitimation. Now, let's go a little bit back to this saying that we are on the same boat. In fact, this saying is an ancient one, and as I said, and it was proposed by Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, when he was speaking about democracy. Plato was against democracy, as is well known, and he was advocating a monarchical regime as the best possible, and he was countering the democracy using reasons that are still worth of thinking, reasons that are powerful and truthful reasons, in my estimation. He proposed this well-known metaphor of a boat as a symbol of a political entity. We are all in the same boat, he said, and we have to choose who will be the man behind the wheel, who will be steering the boat to the port we choose. And he proposed 2 solutions. Either there will be the professional steerman, the one who got education in this sense, who knows a lot about stars, sea streaming, and the force of the wind, and he's capable of directing the boat to our destination. The other possibility are sailors, a multitude of sailors that received no education to be something else as sailors, incapable of taking decisions, ignoring what are the position of the stars, the force of the wind, and the streaming of the sea. But they have, in Plato's account, a strong desire to take the place behind the steering wheel. And they are fighting each other to do this, to take this place, because they are many, and they're not unite. And well, it's quite clear. The educated steerman is the one it's metaphorically representing the philosopher king, the man equipped with a lot of knowledge to take the right decisions. And on the other hand, we have the multitude of illiterated, uneducated people that are passionate, that are not united, and that's all reasons that are that this description forms reasons not to give them any credit, and not to give them, especially not to give them the place behind the steer. These are, I admit, quite powerful reasons, but in fact now we will not discuss the question if the democracy is a better regime than a monarchy is. I will rather point the accent of sometimes neglected aspect of this metaphor. Namely, he's taking the boat itself as a metaphorically represented political entity, a state. The boat is the equivalent of the state, the political community, the community of destiny, the one that have tied together their force and their destiny to form a unity called a political state. Namely, there is a problem if we take this boat as a good representation of a political state. And the problem is in the fact that in this Plato metaphor, if we are falling over the board, we are falling in the sea, and the sea is not another state. The sea is the representation of pure nature in this Plato metaphor. And that's something that is not in accordance with our experience, nowadays real life experience. If we are crossing the borders of our state, we are not falling in pure natural state of nature. We are falling into another state. The states are bordering each other in our real world. In Plato's world, we have a single state that is surrounded by huge, immense nature represented by the sea itself. And that's reflecting Plato's idea that, in fact, we should build a state that is that relies to itself, that it's not needing any help, any exchange with any neighbors. That was part of Plato's political ideal. But in fact, this political ideal is not even an ideal anymore. In fact, we are all admitting nowadays that we have to exchange a lot of it with a lot of states. In fact, we are exchanging everything with every state. We are part of a globalized world. We are, every day when we eat, when we dress up, we are connected with all the continents of the world, because the things we are wearing, we are eating, are coming from that part of the world. If we are aware it or not, we are connected with the other and we are exchanging with the others. So there's something that is not fitting our real experience anymore. But if I would like to ask at the end, is there any way to redress this Platonic metaphor about the political reality, about the political state? Is there any way to make it fit the reality of nowadays world? And my answer is yes, there is a way to make it adequate to our world, to make it fit to our world. And we have to just change one thing, and namely the idea that the reality, the political reality, the one boat is representing is a single state, and make it represent the whole world. If the boat Plato is thinking about, and about which he's choosing the appropriate regime, is not a single political state, one of the many existing in the world, but the world itself, the earth floating as a ship through the space, expanding itself in time, then this metaphor is gaining reality, is gaining experienceable reality. When there is no more problem, this kind of problem I mentioned, that if we are falling aboard from the ship into the sea, we are falling from a political reality to the nature that's not fitting to our experience, doesn't exist anymore. The fitting experience would be if we take a rocket and we rocket ourselves outside the gravity force of the Earth. We are really falling into something that we really can call pure nature. And okay, then the Plato reality is somehow fitting our experience. Now the problems arise in another side. In fact, the problem is that the reality, the Plato metaphor is now fitting, it's an idealistic reality, the reality that is not a political reality. It could be maybe a moral reality, a reality that some of us are wishing that would become truth in the next future, but nowadays it's not a reality itself. The world has not one single government. We are not even in a position to make any choices about what kind of reality, what kind of government the world would have in the next future. This kind of questions are just still a little bit beyond our horizons, and they are approaching maybe, but they are still very far away. But I would like at the end to point on this problem. In fact, this event we are all of us part of is a global event. It's an event that is uniting the whole world in a new way, using the newest technology that are right now available to the use of the people, and they are not even expensive to use. And the fact that all this is happening in real time in many parts of the world, and it's represented in one place, it's building this consciousness that in fact we are making one community of destiny. And there are many questions in which we are feeling that we are already feeling, physically feeling, that we cannot take apart our real life experience from the real life experience of a person that is living in another continent. I mean, naturally, the problem of the problem we have with the ecology are strikingly predominant in making this consciousness. And in fact, even about protesting to the inequalities we have in the world, we have in our own countries, the protests that are going on right now in the world. In fact, I don't see it as protests that should be directed to the government of the single country, even the biggest one. It's not the right target, in my opinion. In my opinion, the right target is a world systemic, financial, political, systemic solution that should be changed, that should be upgraded in a way. And the problem is that we are not capable of seeing enough clearly that the real target should be on that level and not on the national level. And the second problem is that we have no mechanisms for taking decision on that level, and especially true, no democratic procedures through which we could establish and push through our common will, our common decision in which way to change these decisions. That should be, in my opinion, the true aim, or one of the true aims of this vague of protests. And one another stressing point: we should not forget that these kind of protests are not just protests that are uniting the so-called industrial countries. We should have in mind that there are countries that maybe are not part of this event in a way, that are less developed, and people have less access to the new technologies, and that's surely a reason that it's cutting them off from being an active party of this event. I would like I would exhort you to bear in mind that we should have in mind these realities also, and that there is, for example, not just the problem of maybe lack of democracy in our own countries, lack of immediate non-representational democracy that some of you are advocating very strongly. Okay, I can agree with this point to a certain degree, but I shall add that there are other problems that should be also stressed and should be focused in our protest, namely the fact that there are no mechanism to establish a kind of global justice in the world, and there is no, in fact, global perspective in the world, and there is no global democratic mechanism that on the supranational level, the level that go upper than the state itself, we have no established mechanism through which we can transfer our common will. We should construct that kind of mechanism, and that's an urgent task the world has if it is to survive for some more century, because I think, in my strong opinion, otherwise this kind of deregulation will lead to unbalancing the basic natural processes that are needed for our biological life. I pointed out the word global justice. In my opinion, justice, which was once thought as a basic regulatory concept that has its application in a singular state, it's more and more losing its sense when applicating just to one country. We are all, in many ways, transcending the borders of one country, And in many ways, also, the concept of justice should transcend the borders of one country. And if the justice has something to do with the concept of meritocracy, there is a strong accent that we should think about justice globally, because I can offer you some data that are thought to illustrate this affirmation. If we would represent the whole population of the world in a population of a single global village that consists of 100 persons, these 100 persons just 80 would, no, not just 80, 80% or 80 persons would have houses with absolutely no living comfort, 70 would be underfeeded, 50 would be illiterate, 2 would have a personal computer, just 1 person would have a degree on a university degree, and 6 persons will have the 59% of the global wealth, will own the nearly 60% of the global wealth, and 5 of these 6 persons will be American citizens. So this data, it's not very accurate and not very new. In fact, that's part of a illustration that was quite popular 10 years ago when the so-called anti-globalist movement took place. And this anti-globalist movement, that it's a little bit out of our sight right now, it's, in my opinion, something that should be thought as a predecessor of this new vague of protests that is gaining momentum right now in the world. The data, it's not new, but it's a striking data anyway, and it's a true data anyway. And what it's saying is that the protester, that the unsatisfied part of the industrial world is putting in place against the 1% of their own country, should be, in my opinion, recontextualized in a more global perspective that would include also for example, the African population, the population of the south of the world, that has maybe even stronger protests to wage against even the less satisfied people from the industrial countries that are protesting against the 1% at the top of their countries. So that's my point. Now we have to build, and theoretically a lot of work has already been done, no doubt about it. A lot of books has been edited about the concept of global justice till this day, but we have to try to implement this concept of global justice in our true real world, and that should be one stressing point, in my opinion, of these protests. So let's make some effort to make real this second dimension of the Plato community of destiny. Let's try to think about the community of destiny we are sharing with the people from different continents, with the less advantaged people from different continents, because in a way we already feel like this way when we are thinking about the atmospheric problems, the pollution problems. We are already a little bit conscious. it would be a great leap in the emancipatory politics if we would implement these feelings in our nowadays inexisting world global institutions. Thank you for your attention to this moment. As I told you before, I will take some questions if you have any. Ja, če naj se sploh odzovem, jaz ne vem, če je kaj, kar bi sploh zahtevalo nek odziv na tem, kar ste rekli. Če lahko, jaz imam nekaj, kar lahko povem nazaj, ampak to je seveda tako prosto razmišljanje, kot je bilo tudi vaše. Ne? Zdaj, ne bom niti povzemal tega, ker se mi ne znam in najti nekega povzetka takega, ampak razumem nek izziv, ki je bil tule in se na nek način strinjam. Ja, I agree. There's a process going on that should be taught as a process and not as a single event. I'm supporting this kind of seeing and of regarding what is going on right now, absolutely, without I have nothing contrary to this view. Absolutely, I support it, and I suggest, yes, that in fact I suggest something that should be a concept that should be a regulating one. The concept of global justice, in my opinion, it's a very strong concept that should be articulated. It's already been done. In our country, we don't have any book that it's already translated speaking about that, but for example, we have some doctoral theses that are already discussing this concept, and if you will look at the books in English language, we will find plenty of them discussing this concept of global justice. I think that it's a base of the world we are starting to build up. We should start to build up a more just world. Regarding but on the other side, okay, we are building. We can say that we are building a kind of world civil society. I think that the idea of civil society, of a world global civil society, that was already theorized by many sociologists that wrote about globalization. It's right now becoming flesh in a way, and it will become even more flesh in the future, I hope, I strongly hope. And that's part of this process. But the problem is that the global civil society has no institution to address. The civil society of a state has the power structure of the state, political structure of the state to address, to protest against. But who will to who address the protest when we are speaking about this macro mechanism of the world, of the economic, financial transaction of the world? That's something I'm asking, and that's something that it's a part of the problem. We have to build, we have to, not to criticize, but we have to propose and to impose to our national political leaders the need to start to build this kind of structures, because otherwise we will fall down. We will as a world, the earth will suffer a shipwreck. That's my diagnosis. That's one point, but that's another point that I would like strongly to make, and that's that we should have, yes, one eye pointed to the largest horizons we have possibly can look at. But we have to point the other eye on the grounds we are walking on. We don't have to lose the reality check. We don't have to lose the feeling of reality And that's a must for every political movement. If it's just speaking about castles in the distance, beautiful castle in the distance, could fall down in the first trap because it's not watching the ground on which it's moving. And so one eye to the distant goals and one eye to the ground we are walking on. And that's the reality in which we are moving. On the other side, is, in my opinion, my strong opinion, frightening. And I have to communicate to you that I have to stress one statement of the French President Sarkozy made in one of the many meetings with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. It was before summer that he pronounced these words that are still reverberating in my mind very often, and I remember them from day to day, and I think it's important that as many people as possible, especially in Europe, would have them in mind, and so I'm saying them to you. It went in English. It went like this: without the euro, there is no Europe, and without Europe, there is no peace. Being without peace has its very clear opposition, because the opposition of peace is war. And the falling apart of Europe, it's connected with the raising of nationalist feelings, of so-called centrifugal feelings, and the possibility of the war is lurking behind the corner. And that should be something to be kept in mind when we are taking our decisions. Okay, that's definitely a very, very, very important and very clearly formulated question that I would like to answer it. So it's true, the protests we are now witnessing are, and in a way we are part of them, are mostly locally oriented. My stressing was that we should, in fact, think of this locality as part of the larger whole, and we should have in mind that we have to obtain, sooner or later, possibly sooner, a world system that would, in a way, unite all persons or people with ties of a community of destiny. If that is the case, then the role of the local level, local protest, should be to try to put on the agenda of the local political authorities questions connected with this kind of political goal. So push them to, for example, to intensivate all the communication between political countries, because it's evident that there are many of the most important problems that are not so possible to solve on the national level. So we have a little bit of international mechanism. They are not very democratic ones, but they are the ones that we have and the one that we can start with, or better to say, the political authorities have to start with them because they have them. We have, I think, internet to put pressure on it. Internet is, in my opinion, a valuable resource of pressuring local authorities through global pressure. But the political structures have the United Nations and have the G20 meetings. These are, in fact, the only two structures that are capable of taking any decisions that have some impact on what the political authorities of single countries are in fact doing. And I think that we have to use them to build more of it and to build others, not just these ones. I stress again, these two institutions have very little democratic legitimacy, especially the G20. That's absolutely not a democratic institution, but it's capable of producing some. And I don't see any other leverage to use to produce something. On the other hand, we have the possibility to make our voice, our common voice, stronger and more unite. The more unite will be our voice, the more will the national or local authorities have to follow it. But our starting position, it should be said, it's not a very strong one, because thinking about Slovenia, we know that we have showed very little interest for example, elections on the European level. And that's the kind of pressure I'm talking about. When we are to elect our representatives in the European Parliament, just 1/3 of the voters are going to elections. And that's a very low percentage. So we have to change our attitudes in this kind, absolutely. That's one opportunity to make some changes on the relevant level, which is not a low local level, but on the contrary, the upper level. So we can use our pressure, our local authorities when we can to change their attitude on the higher level, and we can use our right to vote for the higher level to change attitudes there. That's a bit my answer. So there was one last question, yeah?
Speaking of votes, in your opinion, to meet the reality, should we modernize the saying women and children first to bankers and CEOs first?
Could you? I was not I could not understand you very well. So should you?
In your opinion, to meet the reality,
yeah,
should we modernize the saying women and children first to bankers and CEOs first?
Is that a cynical question, or what kind of what the kind of question is? I'm not sure that I understood it properly. To modernize it, to check, to meet the reality, should we say we should opt for the CEO and who else? The bankers first instead of the women and children. Women and children first. Well, I don't know how to comment this. If we are going, starting from the human rights, in fact, I'm not so sure. Well, the person has personal rights, and there is, in this regards, not so clear a solution that, for example, children should always have the precedence over an older persons, and so on. That's taking seriously what you're proposing, but otherwise, surely there is no reason why CEOs would have the precedence over mothers with their children. That's something that absolutely I'm I propose would have the precedence over other categories of people. That means person caring for the well-being of other person have the absolute priority when we are asking who are the ones that should be saved first. I don't know if you are satisfied with my answer. I'm not so sure that was connected with your position anyway. So that would be all, I think. There is no questions anymore, no? And yes, So, thank you for coming again, and thank you for your attention, and we will meet again, I hope, on Saturday afternoon at what time? 3 o'clock. See you at 3 o'clock at Kongressni trg. Thank you.